Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. As promised in my recent video, which is my reaction to the first official teaser trailer for season 2 of Percy Jackson, I have broken down the trailer. This is about an hour after they posted it, so it might be like a rough breakdown. I also may not have caught some things, so if I don't mention something that you caught, make sure you comment down below and let me know what it is. But this is going to be a teaser trailer breakdown. If you are new here and unfamiliar with what that is, we're just going to be going through the trailer like shot by shot, frame by frame, and kind of breaking down what we see in the shot. I'm going to be giving like theories of what I think is happening. So it's like half factual, half also me just theorizing. But it's fun. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the trailer starts with someone dropping a helmet into water. I don't know whose helmet this is supposed to be. Maybe it's just an aesthetic shot. I don't know. It's not Percy's helmet from the Chariot Race because his is blue. It's not Clarice's because we've seen her helmet in like an official still. There's no feathers on it at all. So I don't know whose helmet that is actually, to be quite honest with you. Food for thought there. If you know whose helmet that is, let me know. Then the next shot we have is a shot of Luke and his army coming over this hill with a very foggy setting. There's a couple of shots later on in this trailer that I'm about to mention right now, but I'm going to talk about it while we're here. So Luke's army is going to be attacking Camp Half-Blood. It's pretty safe to assume that this is Camp Half-Blood based on the fact that we see later footage of Luke and Percy like fighting, right? So the first question I asked myself was, is this at the beginning of the show or at the end? Because in the books, like, Luke captures Percy and his friends and he takes them onto Luke's ship and then they fight there and they go back to camp and then they do like the second chariot race and then everything's like fine. So later on in this trailer we are going to see a shot of Luke and Percy fighting on the Princess Andromeda, and Luke is wearing the same outfit in that shot that he is in these shots of him and his army here at Camp Half-Blood. So I am of the opinion that this is going to be at the end of the show, at the end of the season, probably before Thalia wakes up. Ooh, or maybe they change how she wakes up and like this whole fight's happening. Oh my god, you guys, walk with me. Everyone's fighting. Luke is trying to kill Percy, and then all of a sudden, we just hear someone scream at the top of their lungs, Luke. Like, Luke! Camera pans. It's Thalia. She's awake. Gag. That would be a gag. That would be crazy. Luke being there when Thalia wakes up? I have goosebumps. I literally just came up with this in my head just now. Anyways, okay, so I think this is the end of the season. I think that this is the end. Like, everyone's back at camp. The second chariot race has happened. Everyone thinks everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, Luke and his army are attacking Camp Half-Blood. And the reasons that I think this is because Luke is in the same outfit that he's in when they're fighting on the Princess Andromeda at the end of the season. And we know that that's at the end of the season because Percy has the Golden Fleece in his possession. All of these shots we're going to go over in literally like 5 seconds, okay? At the end, closer to the end of this trailer, we also see a shot of Luke like bringing his sword down onto Percy, and Percy's on the ground and he's in his Camp Half-Blood shirt. He's in like chariot race armor over his Camp Half-Blood shirt, over a blue long sleeve shirt, which is the same blue long sleeve shirt that he's in the first chariot race scene, unless we've just been seeing footage of the second chariot race scene this whole time and we had no idea. That's very possible. But him being in his Camp Half-Blood shirt, which is not something we've seen him in any of the other chariot race footage, makes me also think that it's the end of the season and not the beginning. And additionally, in the shot of Luke trying to bring his sword down on Percy, a trident comes in and stops Luke's sword. Now, I'd say there's like a 99% possibility that's Tyson and a 1% possibility that that's Poseidon. It's a little too small of a trident to be Poseidon, if you ask me, and also Poseidon being at camp makes no sense. However, it does make sense for Tyson to show up with a trident and save Percy, his brother. But that mostly makes sense after they have this sort of brotherhood bonding that they have at the very end of the Sea of Monsters book. Not to mention, where would Tyson have found the time to make a trident if it was the beginning? So long story short, too long didn't read. Luke and his army attack Camp Half-Blood, and I am of the opinion that this is at the end of the show. Okay, moving on to the next shot. The next shot is Percy looking up at something. We've seen this shot many times before. He's like probably in the middle of the ocean because there's water spraying all over him. And in the next shot, Annabeth is also looking up at the sky, also seemingly on the same boat. I think they're on Clarice's ironclad ship, if I had to give my best guess. And they're looking up, so we can assume, at least I feel like this is them looking at Scylla for the first time. I feel like if they're looking up, they're looking at Scylla because Charybdis is just like down in the ocean. Scylla has like the heads and the tentacles and stuff, so they would be looking up and being like, oh shit. That's what I think. Then we have 2 shots of Grover. In the first one, it's so sweet. It's like, aw, he's finding his pan flute. That's sweet. But then the next shot is like very morbid, and it's the corpse, the skeleton of a dead satyr, because you can see little horns coming out of the skeleton. The corpse of a satyr holding up the pan flute. So that's terrifying a little bit. These are clearly shots of Grover on his search for Pan prior to him getting mixed up with Polyphemus. I feel like we're going to get a lot more content of Grover before he gets taken by Polyphemus, because the producers said they wanted to include Grover more in the show so that he feels like a part of the main trio still, even though he's not there. So this is probably him before he gets taken, I would assume. The next shot is Luke stabbing Thalia's tree, which is just insulting on a very deep level. And this is different than the shot of him with his army when they're attacking Camp Half-Blood, because in this shot, something that is so hilarious and funny to me, Luke is in this like golden Greek Sue Sylvester frat boy tracksuit. And you know what? I'm not one to judge anyone's fashion sense, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't think I could pull it off, but I do think he is pulling it off. But regardless, I think this is the beginning of the season. I think that this is him stabbing and poisoning Thalia's tree. And I think based on what we read in the Entertainment Weekly article that came out earlier this week, which by the way, if you're curious and you want a breakdown of that Entertainment Weekly article, I do have a video on that. It's like not my most recent video, but the video right before that. So you can go and watch that. But based on what I read in that Entertainment Weekly article, they're kind of changing how Luke poisons Thalia's tree. They said they're going to make it a lot more devastating. So I feel like this next shot of Luke like looking up after he pulls his sword out of Thalia's tree, like I think like Percy might be there or Annabeth might be there or someone sees him do this, which is going to be rough. That's going to be a hard watch. The next shot is Clarice coming out of the water with a bunch of her undead soldiers, which, as we know, they've changed the lore of the CSS Birmingham. It's now just a whole bunch of different undead soldiers from different armies instead of just Confederate soldiers, which I think is a very good change. This shot is badass combined with the music in the trailer. I think Clarice looks so damn good. She looks very badass. The next shot is a little more concerning. It's Annabeth passing out, and her dagger falls out of her hand, and her dagger is all bloody. So that's a little concerning. Now, I feel like this could be one of 2 things. The very next shot after this in the trailer is Percy waking up from a dream. So it's possible like, oh, Percy dreamed that Annabeth was in peril. He dreamed that Annabeth died. I don't know. Or that's just what the trailer wants us to think. This could also very well be a part of the siren scene, because as we know, again, from that article earlier this week, they're doing a very big change to the siren scene. Annabeth is here and she's passing out on sand, and we know that, you know, the siren scene is on an island. So I don't know whose blood is on the dagger. Maybe it's a siren. Maybe she tried to kill a siren. Maybe she accidentally stabbed Percy. I don't know. Maybe what she was hearing from the sirens was driving her so crazy that she accidentally stabs Percy and then she passes out. I don't know. But I do think that whatever this is, whosever blood that is, whatever this context is, I feel like it's from the siren scene. That's what I think. And that's kind of crazy. Like I said, the next shot is a shot of Percy waking up, and Lord knows where he is. It's like very dark, and there's one singular blue light on him, so that's a little scary. Next, we see a wide shot of the whole like chariot race area, and it is in shambles. It is a wreck. So this is probably after the Stymphalian birds have attacked the chariot race, and this is probably from the first chariot race, because that is when the birds attack them. But regardless of the fact that everything is in shambles, this set is spectacular. And there's also so many campers laying on the ground. The birds had those campers fucked up. Anyways, next shot. The next shot is almost a jump scare. It's Hermes, which is exciting. I said this in a video that I made on TikTok. One thing I wanted to see in this teaser trailer was I wanted to see at least one god, and hey, here we go. I think it's funny that he's not saying anything in this shot. He's kind of just standing there, serving a little bit of face. But I love Lin as Hermes, so it's exciting to know that he's going to obviously like be there in this season, even though we already knew that, but he's going to be like doing the scene that Hermes has from the books. I wonder if they'll give him his little snakes. I think one of their names is Martha. I forget the other one, something like that. I wonder if he's going to have his snakes. But this face that Hermes is giving Percy, 1,010%, they're talking about Luke. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind they're talking about Luke. And I know I'm going to eat that scene up. Next, we have another insane wide shot of what I believe is Polyphemus on his hill in front of this big tree. That's probably like the top of his cave or something. This wide shot, gorgeous. Baby, this is no mere volume screen. This is the real deal. And it looks so good. And then the next shot is like probably going to be the first time we see Polyphemus in the show because it's giving like grand face reveal, but they cut the shot in the trailer before we get to see Polyphemus's face, unfortunately. Which is fine, that makes sense. Polyphemus is a Cyclops, so he also has one eye. They probably wanted to save the reveal of a singular eye for Tyson, which, spoiler alert, we do get at the end of this trailer. Then we get a shot that we've seen just about a million times before. I think this is their favorite shot of Percy from season 2 because they use it everywhere. This is Percy getting ready to fight Clarice on that beach. Then we have a shot of Percy in the big house, and he is in his Camp Half-Blood shirt, but I'm pretty positive that this is going to be a dream sequence because the next shot is Kronos walking into the big house. Very scary shot, very eerie. And one thing I kind of have noticed, and I do quite like, is that I feel like Kronos gets closer and closer and closer to Percy every single time Percy dreams about him. Like the very first Kronos dream we had in season 1 with like, I think baby Percy, like Kronos was super fucking far away. And every dream he just gets closer and closer and closer. And I think that that's cool. Then we get a fun little talking scene with Mr. D, and Tantalus is there too. And they're talking to Percy and Annabeth, and this is probably like right after they get to Camp Half-Blood at the beginning of the show. I also feel like in addition to like the very like on location filming and the more practical sets, like just these little glimpses of the big house make it feel so much more grand and, dare I say, big, which I'm really enjoying. Next, we have another wide shot of some weird orange like raft boat thing in the middle of water. And once again, this is no mere volume screen. It looks so good. And then the next shot after this is Percy, and it looks like he's inside this weird little raft thing. So this is one of the boats eventually I feel like that they take at some point in the book. Maybe it's like the lifeboat they get off of Clarice's ship or something. I don't think it's the ship that they steal from Cersei's island because that's supposed to be like Blackbeard's ship, so they'll probably do something a little more dramatic for that. But nonetheless, it looks cool. Next, we have a shot of Grover, and he's running because he's being chased. He's being chased by members of Luke's army because Luke is a loser. But I can tell that this is Luke's army purely just because on the right behind Grover, you can see the girl who's going to be playing Allison. Allison is an original character added to the show, not in the books. And this is really our first footage of her. We get another shot of her later on in the trailer, though, which is how I know it's her. And it looks like her and a bunch of other members of Luke's army are like chasing Grover, probably because they know that Grover's looking for Pan and they like want to stop him. I don't know what the reason is, but that's what it's giving. And then the next shot is Grover, what he was running out of the woods, and then he stopped running because he sees something, and the next shot is clearly what he sees. It's a big giant tentacle coming out of the ocean. I don't know what monster this is. I can't figure it out. I don't think it's Scylla. It's definitely not Charybdis. It's just like some new random sea monster. Whatever it is, though, I think the CGI looks great. And honestly, if I had to guess, this is probably something along the lines of like this sea monster kidnaps Grover or something, and that's how Grover ends up with Polyphemus, because We have to get from Grover being on a search for Pan to being kidnapped by Polyphemus, and I feel like that's how they're going to connect it. Then we have another shot of Percy getting water just thrown in his face in the middle of an ocean, in the middle of a storm, and it looks like he's standing at the helm. I think that's the correct word for front of boat. It looks like he's at the helm of Clarice's ironclad ship, because in another shot, I feel like the person on the right is Clarice. And it looks like maybe they're looking at Charybdis, if I had to guess. But I do quite like this shot. I like the concept of Percy being like very steady foot at the front of a very rocky ship. Water and so much crap is being blasted at him and he doesn't even move, because that is the son of Poseidon. That is son of the sea god. And I kind of like it. While this is happening, we get a little voiceover from Annabeth when she says we're headed into a sea of monsters, and I wrote down in my notes, very astute observation skills from Miss Annabeth Chase. She's looking off in the distance in that shot when she says that line, so she might be like saying it while looking at Clarice maybe. I feel like that scene's happening inside of Clarice's ship. Then, of course, we get another shot of Clarice and Percy fighting on this beach. I feel like I've seen this shot more than I've seen my own family in the past year, but it is what it is. And then we get another shot, it seems, of Clarice's army on the ironclad ship, and they all look very spooky. Her undead army, very spooky. And then another shot of what I think is Percy inside of the ironclad ship, because you can kind of just tell like that's what the ship looks like based on all the shots we've seen of it. And maybe this is them entering the Sea of Monsters, because we just saw like Clarice's, I guess, co-captain or whatever, looking out of a thingy-majigger. I can't think of the name. It's not a binocular. Telescope? I don't know. Whatever it is. He was looking out of that thing, and now Percy's looking out the window like, oh my god. So maybe this is right before they enter the Sea of Monsters. And that would be why Miss Annabeth Chase is giving her astute observation of, we're headed into a Sea of Monsters. Thank you, Annabeth, for the narration. We get a shot of Grover blowing his panpipes. Maybe this is what alerts Luke's army as to his whereabouts, because we see him in this same outfit in this jungle running away from these people, so it's very possible. Then we have another shot of Luke attacking camp, and this is the shot I was talking about earlier where we can see his outfit. It's like all tan and white, but he's in like this like quarter zip with a little jacket over it, and like khakis. Keep that outfit in mind, because you're going to see it again in like 5 seconds. I do want to note though, on the left side of this shot, we can see Allison on the very far left with her bow and arrow. And I know a lot of people have been concerned, annoyed, whatever you want to call it, with the fact that the show has introduced a new and original character in Allison, like adding her to Luke's side of things, but the show isn't casting characters like Charles Beckendorf or Selena, at least that we know of. That's what they've alluded to in many like Threads posts and Rick responding to people on Goodreads, all that stuff. So because of people being upset that they haven't casted those specific campers, they're upset because it's like, why are you adding an original character when you're not even focusing on the characters that are actually written in the book? Which is a totally fair and valid like concern or criticism. But this shot tells me that Allison is not really going to be too heavily involved like we thought she might be. If she was going to be like very much a right-hand man to Luke in a way, she would be standing much closer to him in this shot, but she's not. She's like a couple people away from him. So I feel like the main purpose that Allison is going to serve in this season, if she's in any more seasons after this, I feel like Allison will be the member of Luke's army that is like spearheading the search for Grover. Like I feel like she's going to be in charge of that, because it didn't look like Luke was there in that one shot of everyone chasing Grover. I feel like she'll be in charge of that. And other than that, she's not really too heavily involved. That's what I think. The next shot is the shot that I also mentioned earlier, which is Luke and Percy fighting on the Princess Andromeda, and Percy has the Golden Fleece in his possession. So we know that this is towards the end of the book, it's towards the end of the season, and Luke is fighting Percy. And if you notice, he is in the exact same outfit he's in that previous shot when he is attacking Camp Half-Blood. So that's why I'm pretty positive that when Luke and his army arrive to camp, it's the end of the season. Then we've got another shot of the chariot race, a shot we've seen just about a billion times. Then we have another shot of Percy running, sprinting away from something with the golden fleece in his arms, and you can tell he has like a stab wound to his stomach. This reminds me of the footage we got, what was it, a week or two ago? Yeah, this reminds me of the footage we got like a week ago. I talked about this in a video when we first ever saw this shot of Percy running, where I was like, I think that this is Luke I think that this is Percy running away from Luke. I think Luke stabbed him while trying to get the fleece from him. The fleece probably healed Percy right away, so I'm not worried about Percy like being gravely injured or anything, obviously. But he is still running away from Luke just because he doesn't want Luke to get the golden fleece. I think that this is like in the bowels of the Princess Andromeda. Then we've got a shot, a nice, beautiful, gorgeous close-up shot of the Oracle of Delphi. This is probably going to be her giving Clarice her prophecy, I would assume. And then we have Miss Allison, our original character, shooting her bow and arrow. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if this is her aiming an arrow at Grover, wherever this is. Looks like they're in like the back of a convenience store, but still. I don't know how you guys feel about Allison. I'm quite excited. I feel like the addition of an original character to Luke's side of the story can definitely be a very interesting development. So I'm very interested about her character, and I'm interested to see how the show includes her. Maybe that's just me, though. The next shot we have of Luke raising his sword up high in the sky just to bring it down, and his face is very serious. His face means business, which it's like, babe, I don't know if it's that serious. There's a shot of Percy closing his eyes in the middle of a storm. Who knows what this is from? And then, this is probably my favorite shot of the trailer, honestly. There's a shot of Percy on the floor. Luke is bringing his sword down onto Percy, which, by the way, Hay was trying to kill him. This is what? The second time he's tried to kill Percy now in the span of 48 hours? He needs to get a job. But Luke is bringing his sword down onto Percy, and he is stopped by a trident coming into frame and stopping him. Now, like I said earlier, this shot, it's like a 1% chance that that's Poseidon. It's a tiny little trident, so it's not giving God. Poseidon would not show up to camp. And if this is at the end of the season, like I think it is, this is probably after Percy and Tyson have had their little, oh, you're my brother, I love you moment. Or it could be before, but regardless, this is definitely Tyson like stepping up and helping his brother. Mind you, saving his brother's life. Like, Luke was dead ass about to kill Percy. That's crazy. And honestly, I like that the show is not shying away from the fact that Luke is not afraid of killing Percy. Luke's not afraid to kill anybody. Luke will kill people. And like the show's not shying away from that. They're not like dumbing it down or making it like childish. You know what I mean? I also like that, like, Percy's nose is fucking broken in this shot. His nose is bleeding. He's bleeding out of his nose. He's bleeding out of his lip. He's bleeding up here on his nose. Like, the bridge of his nose is definitely broken. So shout out to the show for letting them have blood on their face, because sometimes, like, the MCU doesn't even let them have blood on their face. So it shouldn't excite me to see a child all bloodied up and, like, about to be killed. However, it does excite me because it just makes me feel like the show is taking it very seriously. It does make me feel like a TV 14 rating for season 3 is kind of possible. It might be in the cards that we get a higher rating for season 3, because season 3 has some pretty serious deaths. So this shot was great. I loved it. I think that's going to be a great moment when Tyson comes in and saves Percy. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be so good. Percy says to Annabeth, let's go do the impossible. I love them deeply. And just when you think the trailer is over, it's not. First of all, we get a little title card. The ocean's a little darker. Love it. And if you'll notice, new season streaming December 10th. Yeep! We finally got a release date. Thank God. Now, I will say, I do think that, so December 10th is a Wednesday, and last year episodes came out on Tuesday. It was like a big thing. Every Tuesday it was like Percy Jackson Tuesday. They made it a big thing. I do feel like the episodes will actually air on the Tuesdays, like in the evening, like they did with season 1. I don't know if you guys remember, if you were here for it. Season 1 was supposed to premiere on a Wednesday, and then as we got closer to that Wednesday, it was like the Tuesday before that Wednesday, and Percy series was like, surprise, the episodes actually come out tonight. And then episodes started releasing at like 8 p.m. every Tuesday instead of like 3 a.m. on Wednesday. So I feel like it's very possible that they're going to do that again, especially because if they do air on Wednesdays, then the 4th or 5th episode of Percy Jackson will drop on the same day as the season finale of Stranger Things season 5. I just feel like they don't want to do that. It would be very overshadowing, I feel like. So I still think it's going to premiere on Tuesdays. I could be wrong, but that's just what I think. But hey, you never know. Then we get a little scene, a shot, if you will, of one of the Laestrygonian giants, which, by the way, they look very good. They're very much giving like the giants in Ella Enchanted, kind of, which is what I wanted. And we've got a Laestrygonian giant throwing what I think might be a Molotov cocktail. I don't know. They're throwing something that's on fire at Percy. And Percy's going to hide from it, but Tyson stands in front of him and Tyson just absorbs it. So we get to see Tyson and his fire powers, which I think is pretty cool. Now, it seems like they are scrapping the bronze mechanical bulls from the show. Those are the monsters that Percy encounters when he gets to camp, and those bulls breathe fire. And that's how we find out about Tyson's fire power there in the book. I don't think it really matters. I think, I'm not shocked that they didn't want to do the bronze bulls in the show, because if you guys remember the movie, they actually did do those like mechanical bulls in the Sea of Monsters movie, and the TV show does kind of like to do everything it can to separate itself from the movies, which rightfully so. But if they want to separate themselves from the movies, it makes sense that they would just kind of cut those bulls. I don't think they're super, super necessary. We're still getting the same concept. Like, there's still a conflict when they get to camp and someone's throwing fire at Percy, and we still get to see Tyson and learn about his fire powers. So it's all the same things that you need from the scene with the bulls. They're just using the Laestrygonian giants instead, which I think is fine. It doesn't really bother me. If anything, in a way, I think it might be better, because if you do too many monsters and villains in one season, like, it's gonna feel very overwhelming. It's like a little too many characters. You know what I mean? So it doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, hey, you always have the movie that you can go watch. You know what I mean? But so we see Tyson's fire power, and then he turns around and we see Tyson's eye for the first time. And guys, I think he looks great. I really do. Like, okay, here's the thing about making a Cyclops eye in media. We as human beings in real life are not meant to register looking at someone's face and comprehending that they have one eye in the middle of their face and like understanding that that's real, because it's not real. That's not something that exists in real life. If somebody has one eye, it's like this, you know what I mean? Like, nobody has an eye right here. So anytime you see a Cyclops in any media, like, it's going to not feel real, and your brain's going to have a disconnect regardless of what you're looking at. But I do think that his eye looks really great. I like that they gave him one singular eyebrow. I think it's spaced really well, like between the top of his head and his nose. And to be quite honest with you, Daniel has like the perfect eye to act like this, if you know what I mean. I think he has great facial features for a Cyclops. If he needed to have an eye in the middle of his face, I think Daniel has the best facial features for that. I also think that Daniel has the ability to make his eyes, or singular eye in this case, look very young and innocent. Like, this shot of Tyson turning around, like, I believe that that's a baby Cyclops. You know what I mean? Even though I'm looking at borderline a grown-ass man, like, he still is. I'm just like, oh, he's a little baby. Even though he's like 6'7". He's just a little baby. But I think the eye looks great. We see it blink and everything. I have no complaints personally. And then again, just when you think it's over, it's not. We get our first look at the Grey sisters, and I also think that they look so good. And this scene is very funny. Of course, making fun of Percabeth, being like, oh, is this your boyfriend? And then Annabeth's like, I never said boyfriend. Love it. You gotta love it. I think the taxi looks great. I think the Grey sisters look great. The one eye looks great. Again, 10s across the board. So that pretty much does it for a trailer breakdown. I think that was pretty thorough. I did whip it up pretty fast. I don't know how long it's gonna take me to edit this and post it, but I whipped up a script for what was in the trailer like just about an hour after they posted it. So I did it pretty quickly. So I might have missed some things. If you guys think I missed anything, please let me know in the comments down below. I love when you guys are like, hey, I don't know if you noticed this, but blah, 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 blah. Love it. I think I got it all. I'm feeling very overwhelmed. We got this trailer. We got a release date. I had to break the trailer down. We also got the casting for Nico and Bianca D'Angelo, which you guys don't need me to make a video on that. You guys can already go look up who it is, but I think they're perfect casting. Lots of content came out today. I'm feeling very overwhelmed. So I hope I hit all the main points of the trailer. I hope you guys enjoyed the trailer. If you didn't already see my reaction to it, please go check that out. That's my most recent video. Check out my TikTok or my Instagram for like other more short form content videos. It's a great day to be a Percy Jackson fan. I'm so freaking happy that they gave us a trailer. I was so worried we were gonna be disappointed, and we are not. Percy series, I love you. I've never doubted you. But yeah, that does it for this YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.